Welcome to the Business Finance Bulletin, episode 106. Welcome again to this week's Business Finance Bulletin with me, Rob Warlow from Business Loan Services. What have I got in store for you this week? Well, to be honest with you, it's a bit of a late payment fest. Yes, the bane of small businesses' lives. We're going to be looking at the latest research, looking at the extent of the problem, and also 2 new solutions which will help alleviate the problem which have just come out. And my business finance tip of the week, well, if you are in a cash flow problem, there's nothing better than to sit down and plan ahead. So in my business finance tip, a clip from a seminar in which I share with you some ideas on writing a 1-page business plan. In episode 105, I mentioned that in 2015, late payment featured quite heavily, and I thought that 2016, well, it would be the same. And yet here we are, 1 episode later, and we are on a late payment fest, an exclusive episode almost focusing full-time on late payment. Now, late payment, as we know, is a major barrier to growth. All that money tied up, which should be in your bank account, but is sitting in someone else's bank account. It stifles growth. Well, new research caught my eye this week from Lloyds Bank Commercial Finance, which are the invoice discounting and factoring arm of Lloyds Bank. And they've been out and surveyed many small businesses, and they estimate that there is currently £500 billion tied up in outstanding invoices. Now, that's a huge slug of money sat doing nothing, sat in other people's bank accounts, not yours. And the impact of that, of course, is that businesses just can't grow. More worryingly, about 30% of the businesses surveyed said that they thought that their clients would be approaching them asking for extended terms during the first 6 months of this year. And that's also a worry because that puts even bigger cash flow strain on businesses. And in fact, 31% of the businesses surveyed said that late payment was putting a strain on cash flow. So it is a big problem. As I mentioned in the previous episode, business confidence is taking a little bit of a dip, and it's the last thing we need is all this late payment stopping that growth. And in fact, as I record this, the big news this week, of course, has been big old bad Tesco's and what they've been doing to their suppliers over the past few years about deliberately holding payment back. So it is going to become a big issue in 2016. So if you do rely on having to give credit terms out to your customers, what can you do? Well, here I've got in this bulletin 2 special solutions which have recently come out. Let's start off with the first solution that caught my eye to this problem of late payment and poor cash flow. And that is the launch of a new crowdfunding invoice discounter. The company is Investly, and they've been successfully operating in Estonia and have just opened their doors here in the UK. How does it work? Well, like any crowdfunding site, the aim is that they will match investors who've got money with people who want to borrow money. All you have to do, you go along to the Investly site, you sign up, they carry out standard identity checks and credit checks on you. Once you've passed that, you are then free to submit invoices that you want money on today instead of having to wait full terms. What kind of invoices will they discount? Well, the terms on the invoice have to be anywhere between 15 days and a maximum of 120 days. The invoices cannot be due for payment within 15 days, and the person or company to whom the invoice is made out also has to have a good credit history as well. Once you pass that, the invoice is then put up on the platform, and the investors then, in a reverse bid in order to get your money. In other words, they start at the highest rate and people come in at the lowest rate, therefore guaranteeing you the very best rate. Then you get the money in the bank account, less the fees and interest, and away you go. A great solution. So if you want to know more about what Investly do, just go along to their website, investly.co, and there you'll find more information about the scheme and how to sign up. You may be sitting there saying, Rob, invoice discounting, whether that's traditional routes or through online crowdfunding, is just not for me. Also, my invoices are not that suitable for discounting. What help is out there for me? Well, there is help. And one caught my eye this week, the launch of a kind of a new self-help portal for business owners who are stuck in the trap of late payment and trying to manage poor cash flow. Now, the site called the PACT scheme, that's PACT, was set up by a business owner recently who suffered from this problem, and he wanted to help other business owners. How does it work? Well, you sign up to the scheme, and upon signing up, you will get standard terms and conditions that you can issue to your clients with your invoices, including use of the PACT logo to demonstrate that late payment and management of cash flow is important to you. Now, if the invoice is settled within terms, that's superb, brilliant. But if they are overdue, you can then upload the invoice to the platform, and that starts a series of automated letters which goes out to your client. It also then will report the overdue terms to the credit reference agencies, and if they are still very late, we'll also report them to defaulter.com, which is a bad payers register. And so you can see it really starts to put pressure on people who are habitual late payers, and more importantly, sends red flags out to other people in case they want to give credit. Really just sending the sign, don't, because these are bad payers. It's a great little scheme. If you want to know more about that, just go along to their website, which is PACT scheme.com. On now to my business finance tip of the week, and here I've got a clip in which I share some thoughts on a one-page business plan. Now, we know business plans, banks want them, but sometimes business plans do have a place in your business even if you're not borrowing, particularly to continue our theme of this bulletin around late payment, where you have to plan your cash flow and plan your actions accordingly. So let's go to that little tip that I recorded recently after a seminar that I did. So one of the debating points that came out of the seminar that I was doing today was around business plans. And one aspect of business plans that we were looking at is why people don't write business plans. And we came up with a whole host of reasons. And one of the reasons was that people say they just don't have the time. Well, we do have the time. It's just we decide it's not big enough priority in our lives, and we go and decide to do something different instead. Now, when it comes to writing business plans, we know that banks want to see a business plan, whether it's something the size of War and Peace, which I certainly don't advocate, but something even more condensed. And, it does take time to do. But here's the thing. I'm always a great believer that businesses of all sizes, whether they're borrowing or not, should have some form of business plan. Now, for businesses that are not borrowing, and that may be you still need a plan. And it can be simple as a one-page business plan, a very focused document. Now, what can we include on that one-page business plan? Well, it's very easy. There's only 2 questions you need to ask yourself. Sit down at the beginning of every year, or whichever point you want to in your year, and the first question to ask yourself is, where do I want to be? That's the first question, the first half of the one page. And there you're setting out all the different goals and targets you want to achieve this year. Now, your definition of success is going to be very different from mine. So it may be that you define success as a certain level of turnover, a certain number of employees, a number of locations you want to sell to, a number of products, whatever it may be. That's included in the first part of where do we want to be. The second half of that one-page business plan then is, okay, what actions do we need to take in order to get there? And then it's a case of simply listing down and brainstorming everything that you need to do in that forthcoming 12 months in order to get to the point where you want to be. So it's as simple as that. And there is your one-page business plan, where we want to be, what actions are we going to take to get there. And those actions, only 3 or 4, no more than that. And they are very focused things that you need to be doing during that 12 months. And you live your business by those actions. So there we are, a one-page business plan. The business plan does not have to be a big, time-consuming, complex document. But boy, will it pay you dividends. There we have it, a one-page business plan. Not too much of a challenge to put together, but it can be immensely powerful. So that's it for this week. As ever, I hope you did enjoy this week's bulletin. Don't forget, if you're watching on the video, you can also download a podcast version available on our SoundCloud, iTunes and Stitcher account. All you have to do is search for Business Finance Bulletin. And of course, if you're listening on the podcast version, you can watch the video. Just go to YouTube and search out Rob Warlow, or go to the blog page on our website, businessloanservices.co.uk. That's it for this week. Hope you have a great, successful and profitable week. Look forward to being with you next time. Thanks very much. Bye-bye now.